Respect if you think of someone who has AIDS, because I think I look healthy enough, but I take care of myself, uh, and I keep doing all the stuff, and I should be allowed to keep doing all the stuff that I used to do before.
Okay, the next gentleman we have is a gentleman that lives here in our community that's living with HIV also. His name is Dennis Chevrier, and he will talk to you on the topic and how he got it, all what he has to go through.
Morning, everyone. My name's Dennis Chevrier, live in Kipwa. Brought a piece of paper because I really thought I wanted to want every one of you to hear the message that I'm going to say today. And this is my first time doing this, like in such a big. I'm usually just do it in front of like 5-6 people. I'd like to thank Will Flake for inviting me to do this, because since I moved to this community back here a year ago, that's been like this is what I wanted to do, was stand in front of all you students. I wish there was a few didn't leave, but you know, they had things to do and it's all right. But I want to take you back to 25 years ago. It was the first time that I ever stood up in front of people and spoke what I believed in. And I was going to school right over here where they have the adult school now. And we had a French teacher that didn't like anyone from Kipwa because we were natives. And I stood up in class and I told that teacher I got fed up of her not wanting to teach us. And I was in grade 6, and I was in grade 6, I didn't even know any French yet. And I should have knew how to say something, but she never taught us. But if you were from Timiskaming, she taught you. And I didn't like that, and I got up in class and I spoke up about it. And she probably thought she'd get me in trouble, so she went and got the principal and the homeroom teacher, Mr. Shank back then. And they came back and I stood up again and I said, well, that teacher never teaches us from Kipwa, and I got right mad. I'm not mad today, but I just want us to hear what happened. That teacher was pulled out of his class, and she never taught in that school again because of discrimination towards natives. Now I'm dealing with discrimination for being HIV in my community. Back then it was for being a native. Today it's for being HIV. And it hurts every day. You know? That's all I gotta say about that, you know? I got this disease using needles back in 1995. I started using. I worked every day. I went to work, I was a furniture mover, and I was really, really good at it. Got paid good, and I did a lot of coke every night. Next morning I got up and went to work, but after using it for 8, 9, 10 months, I started to get real addicted. To the point where I would sit in my room after work, and I'd do an 8-ball, which is 3.5 grams, and all I would think about was lifting up that next furniture the next day to make the next dollar to get back in that same room. But after that 9 and 10 months, the addiction was so bad that you sit there in your hotel room, because I was in a hotel room back then, and people when they're addicted back then, when they get to the psychosis stage, they get to the point where everything scares them, reality scares them. Everything. Nothing is just, nothing's the same when you take that needle and you put it in that vein and you pull it out. Nothing's the same. Then the next thing you do, and I've seen it because I lived it, I was right there. You take a knife or you take a sharp object and you stick it somewhere where it would kill you instantly. And you're frightened. You're in a psychosis stage where you're just scared. And then when you come down, you what? You take the same needle, you don't clean it, and you fill it back up with cocaine and you shove it in your arm again. And then that other person comes in the room, and he's in the same stage as you, picks up the same needle, doesn't clean it, and shoves it in his vein. And that's how you get the disease. You get the disease when you're in a psychosis stage and you don't care anymore. But if you get help like I did, you can clean up off the cocaine, you can come and speak in these rooms and make someone hear how I have to live every day now. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I feel sorry for myself some days. But it's days like today that I hope I can want people not stick that needle in their arm in the future. That you'll remember this 10 years from now when you go off to university, some of you is, and you're underneath pressure to do exams, pressure of life. Did I ever think I'd do that? No. When I went to Vancouver, when I shoved the first needle in my arm and I cleaned it right away, or I got a new one right away. I knew. But eventually the drug gets you and it feeds you. You got to understand that. It's not the first time you shove a needle in your arm. It's when you get sick in the psychosis. And then, overdosing, That's when you start thinking, You shove the needle out of your arm and you hear the rush coming from 10 miles away. And you throw the needle away because you don't want to bounce on it, because you sit on your bed and you bounce for 10 minutes straight. Overdosing. People don't talk about that. Sitting on their bed for 10 minutes straight. It's scary, man. I hope nobody in this room ever has to go through that. It's the scariest thing, guys. Then it even gets scarier. You get HIV like me, and now I live it every day. He takes his pills at 8 o'clock. You know what? I'm up at 4 o'clock barfing my head off that I don't tell anybody about. Who knows? My old lady and my little girl that lives with me. I'm up at 4 o'clock almost every morning. You come to my house and sleep over, you're going to hear me barfing almost every day. Because that's what I have to go through right now. I don't go around telling people. I'm ashamed. It's reality. It's where it gets you. March 20th, 1997 was the day that I said to myself, I want to clean up. And I just finished doing a lot of cocaine that night. And I took this survey where they asked me 250 questions, then they gave me 20 bucks. Then they gave me an extra $5 to take the blood out of my arm to see if I was HIV. I said, yeah, I want that extra $5. What was I thinking? My addiction. I went and did that $25 worth of cocaine. Then I went and cleaned up that day. It was my birthday. It was the last day I used cocaine. March 20th, 1997. It's been a struggle, man. But a struggle worth it today. Our friend over here, he got sick and he told you about pneumonia. I'm at this stage, I'm HIV, I'm not AIDS. And the difference with HIV, the way I look at it, the way I think about it in my mind, is I think if I eat healthy today, exercise every day, then I'm going to be all right. But I got to think that in my head. Eat healthy every day. On $478 the government gives me a month. I was working like him. I got fired for being HIV in my job. Here. In the community, here in the town. I got fired for being HIV. I'm going to court on it. I hope things work out good for me. But that's the things you have to go through when you're HIV. Discrimination. People not wanting to be with you. I went for a ride this weekend. I very seldom go out of my house. I don't want people to look at me and feel awkward about looking at me, because I feel awkward after. So I don't take my family out of the house. I don't go out of the house. Very seldom. But this weekend I went out, I rented a Skidoo, I took my little girl out, she had a great time. Then I went out for a few hours by myself, and I was out on the lake and somebody offered me to go up the lake to Hunters Point. I went. But you know what the conversation was the whole time I was there? HIV and AIDS. You can't go anywhere without it being a top conversation. 5, 6 months ago, what was it about? Me being fired from a job discrimination. It's always in your face. And how did it get in my face? Back when it was that 9th and 10th month, and I shoved that needle in my arm and I didn't care anymore. I went to treatment, found God, and I just let Him do the work, you know. I did the walking. I knew what I had to do, you know. I went and did it. I went to treatment. I stayed away from people that used. I got out of the town. That's what you got to do. Thanks for coming back, guys. I'm happy to be back in Chippewa. Really, really happy. Most of my family is. Not everyone. But most of them are. That's what happens too. Your friends that were used to be your friends, they're not your friends no more. And you got to live with that. They live 2 houses away, 8 houses away, but you can't go there because you're HIV now, and you know that. When you live in a small community like Timiskaming, Chippewa, it's right there. You can't run from it. You live in a city, you can go live in the East End, the West End. You know, you can hide. There's no hiding in Chippewa. How do I feel about being here in the community? Well, there's some things that upset me more than others. One is I go to the hospital. I moved here, and I'm honest with people. I say, yeah, I used to shove needles in my arm, and I'm an ex-cocaine addict, and I want painkillers for this, and I want something for this and something for this, and they look at me like, as if you're an ex-user. And then I say, okay, I'll go to Ottawa, where my last doctor was, I'll get the documentation, and I'll bring it here to you, and I'll show you what I was taking before. I'll get the doctor to write about me. And they took it, and they didn't even care. I go to my reserve, and I tell them I got a family starting anew here. I want a job, and they tell me I'm disability. Well, they had a little thing this summer, a little Algonquin Olympics this summer, and I volunteered. And I had the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and none of them beat me at a little relay. When I was working, they had people shift work around the job I was doing, and I got there. I loved it so much, and it was hard labor. I liked it. I did it. The disability is inside your mind, it's inside your body. When people are telling you your disability, you're going to start feeling like that. people are putting you down, you're going to start feeling that. I'm doing this today for my kids don't have to live through this. And that every one of yous out there, and yous our kids, don't have to live like this in Temiskaming. Because yous are going to go to school, yous are going to leave the town, yous are going to go out there and into the cities to go to university. There's no university here in Temiskaming. And you're going to run into those people out there. And I hope you remember today that you don't do something stupid like I did. At first it was fun. Control it. Use a clean needle. Clean it if you had to. But always remember the psychosis. You know, I tell you, I get up a lot of mornings. I throw up real early in the morning. Have splitting headaches. Don't have one today. I feel good. Get splitting headaches. My shoulders are just tightened up. From moving furniture for so many years, I have a hard time